But that other person who went to get his bachelor's degree is successful and has a happy family. So you start creating within them the ability to critically analyze situations. So I think in a short nutshell, I don't want to take all the time here. Number one, the attachment to the Quran and the parallel with the Arabic language. Number two, to build within the ability to critically analyze what is right and wrong. Then I think you're starting and you're stepping away to developing a good household. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So, when you talk about establishing masjid and books, we talk about establishing masjid and a home school. We didn't emphasize establishing Islamic schools. I think when you see the first day how our children are going through the difficulties, to get rid of these problems, I think you have to establish as much as possible. It's not, I think you hope trying to emphasize that.
No doubt. I was addressing the question where the questioner said there are no Islamic schools, there are no sheikhs, there are no teachers in that location. So we're addressing that. Is yours a separate question or is it a comment on?
We can handle all that afterwards.
Speak to Brother Jannah. Brother Jannah can definitely.
So a follow-up question. Multiple speakers have, and this is common, put emphasis on learning of the Arabic language. Understand that's the language of the Quran, and to best understand the meaning of the Quran, you must understand the language. At the same time, that's not very easy for those of us who haven't grown up understanding the language as opposed to just reciting it. I mean, I can recite it. Same thing you guys pointed out. My parents made sure I finished it, but not the understanding part of it. How would you balance that off for people whose native language isn't that, who don't have access to that Brooklyn community of kids walking around speaking Arabic, who can't practice it in their homes? Is it better for them to spend 3 years learning the language, or spend those years trying to read the language in English or in whatever their mother language is, to be more comfortable in the message?
We have a follow-up here saying that it's difficult for some to learn the Arabic language, so they spend the first 3 years, I assume you're talking about children, or the
Children.
Children, should they spend 3 years teaching them in English, or teach them Arabic and hold off everything else? And this is why I said learning the Quran in parallel. So the children at a very young age, and Brother Ryle is a psychiatrist, can definitely confirm that what I have come to know, that a child at a very young age, which I believe, if I remember memory serves me correct, that before the age of, was it 5, they can learn 5 languages, is that correct?
It's not the learning, but it's the ability of the tongue to grasp it.
To grasp. Okay. So at a young age, they can definitely, they're a sponge. So they can grasp a lot of languages. So we're not saying hold off teaching them how to make salah or aqidah or anything else until they learn Arabic. This is why I mentioned parallel. So learning the Arabic language should be something that we should create within our communities. Unfortunately, a lot of our communities don't see the importance of the Arabic language, but we need to, as the Sahaba radiallahu anhu, when they went in their conquest, for example, Umar radiallahu anhu, when he went in his conquest, they never translated the Quran. They told the inhabitants to learn Arabic and read the Quran. And that is a huge message for us. And that is because Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah mentioned in his fatwa that through the Arabic language, it shapes the way we think, it shapes and preserves the deen of Islam. And we were just talking before Q&A started that it's difficult to teach, for example, usul fiqh in English. You can only go so far. When you get into detailed issues, you have to know Arabic. So we're not saying until they learn Arabic, they're not going to learn what Allah is. It's in parallel, right? So they can take 3 or 4 subjects a day. But we have to return to the way the Sahaba educated and raised children, and thus they were successful. And that is attachment to the Quran, 10 ayahs at a time, and to start teaching them to learn the Arabic language. Now, your question is, what if the parents don't know the Arabic language, right? Well, there are a lot of facilities, a lot of avenues where people can learn the Arabic language online. You can learn it it's going to take commitment and time, right? So that's a no-brainer for me. You can go to foundationmodels.com and you can sign up for our Arabic course and we can take good care of it.
Question: how can we make Islam a priority in our children's lives? It is not what I would like to say, it is not we are human beings. It is not a switch you turn off and you turn on. That's why it's called tarbiyah, right? And it takes time. But I would just mention some highlights. Some of them I mentioned downstairs, and some have already been said here. One is that you are the person that your children trust the most. The priorities that you have will transcend to your children. If they see not so much in words but in action that Islam is your priority, Islam is your priority, they will tend to imitate you. You are teaching them a lesson. There is an implicit idea that is given that Islam is your priority. Now, when I say that through actions, not words, it does not mean that you do not speak. Here is we recited the part of Surah Luqman downstairs, right? So that he is actually teaching his children. The question is, how many of us actually sit with our children? As I said, we outsourced the Islamic education to somebody else. We've given it as a headache of somebody else. Not my kids, or my kids, not my headache. There is a hafiz who will teach them, there is a seller who will teach them, etc. Well, I have nothing to do with them. It might be a good habit. It does not necessarily have to be every day or every other day. I don't want to give you a schedule. Everybody knows their schedule. But maybe sit after Salah. After Salat al-Maghrib, Salat al-Isha, one day, whenever you see something necessary to address it. When they see that you are thinking from the point of view of Islam, you address things with them, you address it from the point of Islam. You always encourage them to read Islamic books, to be around Muslims. You judge things based on the colors of Islam, halal and haram, Islam and kufr, this and that. You are giving them all of this. You're setting that as a priority. When they look at you, how you earn rizq, how you go after your rizq. Does my father, does my mother, if they work, do they go after haram rizq? What does my father do? All of these set the ideas that Islam is a priority. It's not a lesson that you can give. It's not an idea that you can sit, okay, son, let me tell you something. Islam is the priority for you. It's not like that. You are actually living with them and you're guiding them through that life, showing them day in and day out that Islam is a priority. What are you here on this earth for? Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create you? What are you supposed to be doing? How are you supposed to behave? When you sit with non-Muslims and you are confronted with this or that, how are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? By the way, I just one thing, a comment about what Junaid mentioned about Zayd, my son. I do not monitor in the sense that I'm not a policeman, but I keep an eye. Since that incident happened, there was another incident, and after that it has not happened, so I always jokingly, I said, Zayd, so who's hitting on you today? Who's hitting on you today? He said, nothing happened. Since then nothing happened. For him, he's joking. For me, I want to know where my son is standing. I want to know what's going on with his son, with his life, with what is happening in school with him. So who are you hanging out with now? So how do the people look at you after that? Do you run into these people? I'm not a policeman, I'm a father, right? So I'm sitting with them, and that exactly teaches him all the time that, look, you are a Muslim. At the end of the day, it's not what they like, it's not what they don't like. It is, you are a Muslim. So it's continuous process that you go through with them day in and day out. And just by the way, and on the side, I text all of them at least twice, 3 times a day. Because they text. I get on Facebook with them, not to monitor what they do. I'm part of their life as they are part of mine. But this is how I always, even when I see something I don't like, I don't have to necessarily address it right away. I'll sit one day after Salat al-Maghrib, I'll think of a hadith, I'll think of an ayah. I'll think of